Welcome to another episode of HITSZN. My name is Erica Whitaker. You know the guy beside me. He needs no introduction. Nick Henderson, the founder of HITZZN Media. And today we are back for another episode of HITSZN. Today we're going to talk to somebody who I personally call a friend, a sounding board, and everything all the above. She is a retired collegiate coach. She is an all-star cheer mom like myself. Please welcome Jasmine Cox.
Thank you guys so much for allowing me to be here.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, friend.
This is an episode that I have been waiting to record for sure.
Please.
Jasmine has a wealth of information when it comes to cheer, and something that we've talked about on some of the other episodes are perception. And in cheer, and really with anything in life, perception is only something that can come from you. And perception in the all-star cheer world, or just cheer in general, you have coaches' perception, you have a parent perception, athlete, so on and so forth, judges, event producers. There's so many different perceptions. So it's really good to hear yours, because yours was as one, but now it's another. So we're really excited to dive deep into that today.
Yes. I have had a very diverse career in the cheer world since I was a little girl from Wilson, North Carolina. So super excited to be able to explore all different perspectives and being a stakeholder in different arenas, I would say, to share my experiences and perspective on different things.
That's awesome. We're so excited. I don't even know where to start first, but let's start with, you're a mom first and foremost.
Yes.
And you hold a lot of different titles, but now not only are you a mom, but you're a mom to an all-star athlete. What is that like?
Wow. Yes, I think by far being a mom is my favorite role I've ever held in my entire life. But being a mom of an all-star cheerleader is a different type of experience. My daughter Marley is now in her 4th or 5th season of All-Star. We started kind of late to consider it to most people. I've always been a coach. I started coaching when I was in high school. So of course I wanted Marley to find her own journey into cheerleading. And I let her, just watch me, come to the gym with me, see if she actually liked the sport. So she did not start until COVID year, actually, where we just needed to try something new. We needed to get out of the house. What a year. I mean, competitions during COVID were wild. Videos, masks. I mean, my child... She had a mask on, trying to do a cartwheel. Anyways, it was great. So she started during COVID, and we have moved up in time over that. And it first started kind of slow. She just really loved being with her friends and making friends and being with people in the competition season, being under the lights. She wasn't as competitive than when she started, which kind of kept the joy in the sport, right? But now we're in a different season of our lives, and now we've become super competitive. And it's very interesting to see where that competitiveness has taken her. So it is a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of dedication, a lot of sacrifice to be able to get her the resources that she needs to be able to excel in the sport.
Absolutely.
I love it. So something that is interesting is that you didn't say, I forced my daughter. I pushed her into cheer. I told her she needed to. It was more of her leading the way on that, you just introducing.
Yes.
A lot of parents probably don't feel that same way. A lot of parents probably use that as an opportunity to do something, go back in time to do something that they wish they would have done.
Very interesting.
How do you navigate that, especially since you being in a position where you were coaching, you were fully ingrained in it? How hard is that to try to hold back and let her kind of take the reins?
Yeah, one of the other cool things that I've done in my career is also an educator. I'm a career-long educator. I was a principal, kindergarten teacher for a very, very long time. So the educator in me, the core, the root of anything that I want any child to discover or have any access to is with discovery. Discovering what their strengths are. Instead of what's wrong with you, I parent and I teach her what's actually strong with you instead. So being able to allow her to figure out the things that she wanted to do and the things that she was good at, instead of saying, well, I'm an athlete, or I'm a musician, or I'm a teacher, and, pushing that on her and saying, you go discover this on your own. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, also great, because I want you to keep and find the joy in the things that you do every single day. So it's been such a great opportunity and journey to see her start as just doing a forward roll and a cartwheel and not being so great at it at first, and seeing her get frustrated and saying, okay, do you want to try to have more classes to learn more? Or is this a little bit too difficult? Do you want to slow down just a little bit, or do you want to speed up? And having Marley be able to advocate for herself and teach her how to advocate for herself and say, Mommy, I think I might want to take a break. This might be a little bit too hard. Sitting down and having conversations around why was it too hard, taking that and saying, okay, well, if it was too hard because you don't understand the steps, maybe we should align with going to more practices. So having constructive conversations with her has allowed her to advocate for herself, be accountable for her own learning, her own growth in the sport. And the moment that she says she's done with it, guess what, guys? I'm okay. Because she served her time and it did her well. But if she wants to keep going, which she has wanted to keep going, we spend about 20 hours a week in the gym right now. And she has growing and growing. So I just love to be able to see her walk in and, have those aha moments and the discovery moments and want to say, I want to be on this team and I want to get better. But it was more so of me championing her and giving her a voice and allowing her to say things that she's interested in instead of and things that are, where she's strong in, instead of things that I just want her to do because it's something that I did growing up or something that I was involved in. Because I do have another child who is a backyard tumbler. He is not an all-star cheerleader, but he sees his sister do it. So now he's interested. Am I saying, let me go throw you in classes? Absolutely not. But the moment he says, I want to learn it in a more structured way, I will say, well, let's go to the gym. So I think it's been a great opportunity to take my education background and my alignment of who I want to be as a parent and actually be a coach and an advocate for what my child needs and wants, to be able to watch, that move through her and not me do it for her.
I love that. So taking everything that you just said, what you want for your kid, the things that you're pushing for, your values, your core beliefs, how did you choose a gym that fit that mold?
Wow, that is a good question. I will say that we have explored a number of gyms here in the Charlotte area. I am from a very small hometown in Eastern North Carolina. When I grew up, there were no gyms there. We just had our high school or middle school teams. So, All-Star was very foreign to us. So my coach back in high school, Sherry Langley, who is amazing, actually took a school bus and drove us down to Clayton, North Carolina. And she wanted us to experience what it was like to be on a higher level, right? So thinking about anything, choice, again, going back to educator, school choice of, where you want to go, where you want to get your hair done. These are things that you're investing in. I wanted a gym that really poured into the overall whole child athlete and not just that one thing they can actually bring to the gym, right? So I'm always looking for spaces that values the time, the dedication, the effort that she puts in. I'm always looking for staff that actually cares about her well-being. This sport takes it can take a toll on you. It took a toll on me as an athlete and as a collegiate athlete, and that was light years ago, right? So to see that pan out through my 10-year-old is very interesting, and see the pressure that this can, because they want to be perfect. They want to win. Every kid wants to win a ring. They want to win Summit. They want to win Worlds. So I was looking for a gym that actually looked at the whole child, encouraging her, pushing her when things got hard, when she wanted to quit and give up, giving her an opportunity, right? Seeing how hard she worked and saying she earned that, she deserved that, things like that. And just a space for her to make great friends and have great fellowship, because all in all, you can be the most talented athlete, but if your character is poor, what are you bringing to the table, right? So being able to have a space where she can build in her character, because one of my things as a mom is making sure I am raising wonderful humans, right? It doesn't matter how strong they are, how smart they are. If they can go in a room and carry themselves and represent me and my family well as their self because of their character, that is what I'm looking for. So we spend a lot of time at the gym, right? We spend a lot of time with people who are outside of the four walls of our home. This is our family. So I want her to leave a lasting impact, and for the gym and the people a part of the gym and community, leave a lasting impact on her, an impression on her, so she can be able to, when she's 18 or when she's 20 or when she's in the workforce or when she's doing collegiate cheer, whatever she decides to do, those values and morals are instilled in her to be an amazing human.
Yeah, and that's important. And it's definitely an important core value of Hit Zero and what I stand for and what I really want to project, right? So when I was going through my whole process of finding ambassadors, and you know this process because Marley is one of our ambassadors. She's a phenomenal human being, even better cheerleader. It's a great fit. But one of the biggest things that I did was I went through and did the parent and athlete interview. They filled out an application that got them to that video interview because anybody on paper can look great.
Absolutely.
But what happens when you get beyond the paper? And that was something that was really important to me in our brand as we continue to build it, is because I want them to represent the brand well. I want them to represent the sport well. We have enough people in all the sports in all the world that don't represent that well. And we wanted to be the light. We wanted to be the change. We wanted to create space for someone to be able to say, I'm interested in cheer, but that person's not really representing it very well. Maybe that's how cheer is. And it really gives a bad light and a bad vibe to it. And that's something that we're really trying to champion this year, is utilizing these ambassadors to not only be great athletes and be invested in their craft and their sport, but just be a really good human.
Yes.
Show the leadership type tendencies. Show high integrity. I always tell my ambassadors, do the right thing when no one's looking.
When no one's looking. I think that's amazing. I think that was one of my favorite parts of the application to become an ambassador. There's so many programs out here, right? But one of the things that I always champion my children to also do is if they're interested in something, there's an application. I want the world to see who you are, not who your mom thinks you are, right? Because I'm not with you all the time. So who I think you are may be completely different when you're with your friends. So I actually had Marley fill out the application, and some of the questions, top characteristics about yourself. And I mean, although very funny, hilarious answers, I thought it was a wonderful way for her to actually see and talk about who she thought she was and how people perceived her, right? I think it's a good heart check all the time. I can say over and over, my child is amazing. I think I'm the great. How selfish is that for you to think you're so awesome all the time, right? But it was a good heart check for her and for myself to be like, what are the characteristics? How do people see you? It brings me more joy when I interact with other parents or other, athletes, and they say such amazing things about my kids. And I know they're just not saying it because it's me, right? I was like, but I hear it consistently.
Right.
And it lets me know that I am doing the right thing and that she is going to be a conduit of change in the cheer community.
100%.
I love that. So, going back to, you're picking your gems, you're looking at the coaches. How do you find a coach that resonates with your kid? Like, maybe they were put on a team and they don't resonate with a coach, or maybe they are trying to find a private coach. Like, what do you look for in a coach?
That is such a good question. And I think I do have a leg up because of my experiences, right? Even when I was a teacher or even when I was a coach, I was thinking about the coach that I needed for me. Right. And so when I'm looking for coaches, like I'm thinking about the coach, I know who I am as a coach. It's very hard coaching your child. I have tried a number of times. And we have such a great relationship. And she's like, Mommy, I need you to do this. Or Mommy, I need you to be mom. Or Mommy, can you give me feedback on this? So I think about what she actually needed. And outside of my own preferences, right? I am a very soft-spoken, I can, the way I teach, the way I parent is very a wildflower, go with the wind type energy. I love children. I just love all the things, right? Really fuzzy and fluffy. But sometimes Marley needs a balance. She needs a balance of the two. She needs coaches that will stay on her. And it's like, I know you can do this and you can do that better than what you just did that. And sometimes she needs a little bit of balance of, I know you're having a hard day. We're not going to overdo it. Let's sit down and talk about it first and then progress through that. Marley's she's very empathetic. She really cares about what people think about her and how she performs. So looking for a balance of someone who is understanding of who she is. We're just not another client or another athlete. They know her name. They know her strengths. They know her weaknesses. They know exactly what she needs to actually push her to be the greatest level of herself. Every single opportunity they have to connect with her, and every experience is different. So I'm looking for people who actually, I guess the root of it all is actually care.
Yeah, and that's it seems very simple. But at the end of the day, gyms are businesses.
Yes.
And it's hard because we put our children there, and some of us spend hours and days and weeks and months, and they all just start to blend together. And it's like, I was thinking earlier today, like as we're in comp season, it's like, okay, we did this comp and it was just a short months ago. Like
Just
we're
yesterday.
we're in the same year.
Yes.
And it's hard to believe because they get such a short break.
Yes.
But something that's interesting is that these coaches, they sometimes don't know the names. They don't know the strengths and the weaknesses. They don't know, they're invested, but they're invested in a different area. Mm-hmm. And I find that those are the same coaches that cause that cause this unneeded and unwanted friction when the said athlete decides to leave the gym and go to a different gym. And it's one of those things where it doesn't need to be. And that's a topic that we're really trying to vocalize, that needs change.
Yeah.
What your athlete needs versus mine versus Erica can be totally different. Sometimes it can be the same thing at the same time. Sometimes it's three different options.
Yeah.
And so talk to us about how your experience with moving gyms, because I know Marley has been at a couple different gyms.
Yeah, absolutely.
How, like, what is that experience? What do you feel the experience should turn into?
That's a really good question. We did switch gyms about 2 years ago, and it was probably one of the hardest things we've ever had to do. One thing about me that many people know, I will be consistent and loyal through and through. But loyalty starts to look different in a number of different ways, right? I think we have perception, right? We've given this negative connotation around loyalty, and it starts to become very weight-bearing. But my loyalty is to my children and to myself and their growth and what this sport can do for them and what they can do for this sport, right? So for a number of different reasons, we transitioned to a different gym, many for family, many for, where we live, location, what we were looking for. And it just began to stack up and stack up and stack up where it just made more sense to make the leap. That was one of the hardest things we've ever done. We left our friends. We left what was familiar. We left our routine. Just like you said, I don't know what day of the week it is, but my Lord, I am driving on autopilot. Like I know where I'm going at. My body knows where I should be doing at what time. Like right now, I should be getting ready to go do something. And it was very hard. But one thing I will share that I don't think most people do know is in that transition, the coaches from our previous gym was so supportive. That meant the world to me. It changed the trajectory of what I felt about the move. They were supportive. We continued to take private lessons with them. When we went to competitions, they found my daughter to go and wish her good luck. They saw my daughter in warm-ups and she did something wonky with her legs, and the coach would go, I'm like, Marley, you know better than that. And he would apologize to, like, that meant the world to me. Or to see them there on the side while they were prepping for their team to come out, standing and watch my daughter on the stage. That is what family feels like to me.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And I really wish everyone would adopt that type of love and care for athletes, because those are the coaches that make a world of a difference in the sport. Those are the coaches who build amazing athletes. Those are the coaches who keep that family aspect and that family vibe where we didn't feel like we were not loyal anymore, because I felt that loyalty felt like it was still there because they were loyal to my child. And she was still a human being. She was still an athlete. She was still someone that they cared for and loved because they thought about the whole athlete, not just because she was at my gym. And I cannot commend that gym enough, and those coaches enough for still pouring into my baby now 2 years having gone. And the friendships that we still have, nothing changed. So not only did we keep those friendships, but we gained even more at our new gym. And it has just opened up a world of what we like to call solid community for us. And that's been one of the most beautiful things. And I wish everyone would get to experience that.
Yeah, it's when the gym owner, when you separate that they own a program, they are a business owner, they take it from a on paper transaction as the athlete to like compassion and investment.
Yes.
And they're not invested in the athlete out of obligation and out of a interest from financial reasons. They're in it because they're invested in the athlete for growth and for the athlete
Absolutely.
perspective. And that's really great to hear because we need more of that. And I
Absolutely.
get it. At the end of the day, it is a business, and the warm and fuzzies don't always pay the bills.
Absolutely.
But finding that balance and understanding where your business is and what market your business is in the sport, it takes that yin and yang. It takes that, ebbs and flows
Yes.
to be able to really massage this sport to where it needs to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your advice to a parent, an athlete, somebody who's considering this, and maybe they're nervous that, they need to try 1 year, and who knows, maybe they'll be back. Maybe the grass wasn't greener.
Right.
Or maybe this is just what they need to kickstart their journey. What would you tell to somebody who's really on the fence and they just need that push?
I think, again, there's so many different perspectives of this because as a business owner, you're right, the ebbs and flows to a business, right? We think about the things that have to keep the lights on and there's all the things, right? But when you get down to the core of why we're in the business of what we're doing and bringing back the heart and the root of we are here to build amazing athletes, I think that would kind of help change the trajectory of the language, right? So for, a parent who is considering this, I would say, trust your gut. I know that sounds so simple and so silly and so easy, right? But, I had to tap in again with what the strengths of my child was and where she was trying to go and what she needed at the time. And that sacrifice looked like making a change. And it is okay to make that change. And for gyms, and people at the gyms in that community, also being open to the idea, again, going back to the mission and values of what the gym was founded in and being able to stick with that instead of, the feeling of, oh, they're leaving and not loyal. But let's think about going back and switching it. What are our mission and values of our gym? Is this what we want for this athlete? If this is what this athlete thinks is better. And then what if the grass isn't greener, right? Accepting them back with open arms.
Exactly.
Yes.
With love and open arms and no shame. There's enough. The world isn't kind, right? The world isn't kind enough. There's so much shame, so much embarrassment. Why attach that to the things that these children love the most, right? This is their solitude. This is where they're happy. This is where they find joy. There is nothing more distressful for me is to see children walk through these spaces of so much shame and guilt off of decisions that they didn't even honestly make.
And I think one of the things that we forget so much because we're seeing these girls and or males and they're throwing these skills and they're doing these amazing things. These are children we're talking about.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was having a conversation earlier this week with a gym owner, and she and I were just kind of having this conversation about the whole trajectory and flow of, okay, I start my cheer career here at this gym. Mm-hmm. I outgrow it. I move. My parents move. Whatever the case or situation may be, I now leave that gym. What someone who was loving on me now says, well, fine, leave. And they essentially turn their back. And so then they go to a new gym, and that new gym owner's like, yeah, come on, we'll take you. We'll take you. And then say they move again. Well, then the back's it becomes the hokey pokey.
Yeah.
Like everybody just keeps turning themselves around.
Yeah.
But what happens when they come back? When they make that call and say, hey, listen, the grass wasn't greener on the other side. We really enjoyed your program. Now the owner of turning their back and saying, well, fine, leave. Now there's that shame. There's that embarrassment. There's all that for both the athlete and the other side.
There's a lot. I think we as humans, and this comes just a heart check for us, right? We have moved so far away from grace and understanding.
Agree.
And understanding that circumstances are different for every family. And I know you can't know everyone's story, right? But, I valued and prided myself as a coach to make sure that I at least tried and had conversations. And I know that's very difficult with very, very large gyms. We can't do it all, right? We just can't. But I think if we move in a space of understanding and grace more, then the feeling of shame and embarrassment and you left us and you thought that will just all go away. Because if we, again, go back to the root of why we're doing what we're doing, it would make this space more open for other people to be able to make the adjustments that they need. Because honestly, you really may just not even know the circumstance.
Exactly. Not knowing someone's story.
Not knowing, making an assumption we all know what the rest of the saying is. You make an
Yeah.
assumption, you know?
Right.
So especially if you don't have those conversations. But I also want to champion parents to also having the conversation. It is not all the gym owner. There's a balance. Communication is key, right? Making sure you're open and honest. And, you know, some parents feel like, I don't owe the gym that. Well, you know, you're right. You don't. But if you want to keep a healthy relationship,
It's a two-way street.
it's a two-way street. That is where the grace and the kindness and understanding comes from, because you cannot fault the gym for being angry because you didn't communicate. So you really have to manage this as a working relationship. You know, there has to be a relationship between whether gym owner or coach or athlete or parent, whomever the stakeholder is in the situation. There just needs to be healthy conversations.
I love that. And I love where you said not to make assumptions. You know, one of the things that Hit Zero Media stands for is, you know, accepting all these cheerleaders and backgrounds, you know, whatever it looks like. And sometimes your cheerleader may not look like the typical cheerleader that you have in your mind. And, you know, you're a woman of color. Myself, I'm a woman of color. And, you know, we have daughters that are growing up in an industry and that's very materialistic. It's very look centric.
Very vain.
Very vain.
Who knew? Still in this day.
Big thanks to Mattel and Barbie for really giving us an image of what that's supposed to look like.
So how do we manage, you know, we're raising girls in this industry of, you know, the looks and the makeup and the hair and the sparkles and the thinness and the weight. What does that look like to raise a healthy child in that environment?
Oh, that's a good one, Erica. You are so right. You know, again, the world isn't kind, right? And I tell people all the time when I share, you know, I am Marley's first teacher. I am the model. I am the example. And being able to show up authentically in these spaces as a woman of color, having her have exposure to the things that I do daily, having exposure to the challenges that I experience and the way I navigate those sets a great precedence on how she should. Now, whether she follows that or not, I set the model, right? And I think, you know, the cheer world is becoming more inclusive, which I love so much. It is like from when I cheered, I mean, it was a very rare, I was the only athlete of color on my middle school team. You know, my Lord, can you imagine what the pictures look like and the photography? I mean, I'm not like you could see me but couldn't see me type of business. And I was like, Mom, did you really buy that picture? But it was a moment for her, right? She was like, but even going like, you know, going home for Thanksgiving and things like that and seeing all of the things that are posted on the walls of when I was Marley's age and seeing how different it was. And now looking at it now and seeing how progressive the gym world and the cheer world is trying to become. So, you know, I think we have to be intentional about instilling those values and those morals and those core, you know, things. And it just comes with, you know, they're not only are they preteens and teenagers, they're those of color. That everything feels like it's stacked against them, right? So we've got to work twice as hard. We've got to do exhausting. So being able to experience that with Marley has been really, really interesting because you don't want to shelter her from certain things. You want to tell her the truth. These are the things that are true. And these are the things that we have to do. And this is how we navigate through those things. It helps, again, goes back to character. It helps build that character in her. You know, that child works hard. And I oftentimes get very, very emotional about seeing the work that she puts in every day, trying to become the best athlete she can be. And to see her now as a 10-year-old walking in a space with so much confidence. Right. And, you know, not caring that she is the only one that looks like her in the room. Like you would never know outside of looking at the child. Right. So it's such a beautiful experience, although very hard for me to watch as a mom, you know, because sometimes I want to swoop in and just solve the problem for her. I'm like, girl, go tell them, you know what, like tell them your mama said they can do that with that. Right. But, you know, to watch her handle it with such grace and poise and to be able to be a model for children who are younger than her. Oftentimes being a model for kids that are the same age, because sometimes a lot of them don't even know how to navigate this space either. But, you know, we've just lived a very interesting life. We've gone through a lot of things in our life that sometimes I say, most kids or families couldn't kind of work through, but that has actually helped us be able to navigate such a strange space, but be able to show up as a face and as an ambassador, as someone saying, I can do all-star cheer, I can do this, I'm a fantastic athlete, I can be in these spaces. She just did a camp at North Carolina A&T over the weekend. Amazing experience. And it was so great for her to be in the room and see so many athletes that look just like her. But to also be able to go back to her regular gym where there's not a lot of people who look like her, and be able to still have that same energy. So, it's such a great, I have to balance it a lot though. I have to expose her to a lot of things, but it's intentionality and being open and saying, hey guys, I need support from the gym. I need more of this. Can you help, with makeup or things like that? Can we try to be more inclusive? So I have to step up, raise awareness. That is my role as her mother, and to be a champion for everyone else as well. Raise awareness, walk people through the things, talk about the hard things, answer the hard questions, to be able to be and help change the trajectory of what things will look like for my grandchildren, right? Because it is getting better. And that is the work that I am proud of being a part of.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's an amazing story because I can't, I don't sit on that side of the fence, right? So for me, it seems very difficult. It seems like something that would be very disheartening. And for me to try to understand that it'd be hard. And so it's really great. And that's something that we really try to pride ourselves on with Hit Zero Media, is not making the cheerleader be 85 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes, and absolutely filthy rich. Cheerleaders look so different. And just because you're not, 65 pounds doesn't mean you can't be up in the sky.
Right.
And just because you're 65 pounds doesn't mean you can't be on the floor.
Also.
And so it's one of those things of just understanding and glamorizing that there's a place for everyone. There is a space that you can thrive in. It's just, you got to make your way and you got to do it.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Well, if they have a rich single daddy, tell them to call me.
Yeah. Listen, I get in line.
Next. Call me.
It's just crazy.
Rich single
it's
daddy.
crazy. So,
it is. I think I have never been itty bitty anything other than being 5 feet tall. I am 5 feet tall and full of crap. But it was the same when I cheered. Like, I'm like, but my mom's like, but she's 5 feet tall. She can't lift it. Like, she should be in the air, but I didn't look like your flyer, right? But I went straight beast mode. I learned how to base, I learned how to back, but it's just so beautiful to see, our babies get in there and you can't deny them anymore. You can't deny it.
No.
You can't
do you
deny
think Do you think we're getting to a place where we're starting to glamorize the other positions just as much as we do with flyers? I mean, think about, we go to a competition and where does everybody go? They go
eyes up.
They go eyes up. And so, but something that we just, talk about, and especially her daughter is my daughter's back spot. Yeah. So with Hayden being Zoe's back spot, I wouldn't trust anybody else. Like, people need to realize she can't go up without them.
Absolutely.
And so glamorizing and really putting focus on the bases and the back spots of All-Star Cheer and cheer in general. How do we help navigate that? Like, what are your thoughts as a coach?
Yeah.
Like, how do we start to publicize this of like, hey, no, just because you're a back spot doesn't mean you're just a back spot.
Absolutely.
I'm a back spot.
I think my favorite experience being a collegiate coach is in that space, right? Because, you have your traditional view of what a flyer looked like. But, when I was coaching collegiately, I was at a D2 institution that's now D1. And in that space, my athletes weren't even traditional cheerleaders. Many of them were not. I was building a program from the ground up. So everybody was learning something different. And then even when I was coaching, it was the first year they historically had been co-ed. So, it was a world of difference, right? And being able to go in and teach everybody a role, but also sharing and reminding them that they're all valuable. One of the things that we talked about that was a non-negotiable on my team was mat talk. Like, flyers, I need to hear you talking and cheering on your bases and your back, because you cannot be doing that elite skill without them. This is not your show. It takes all of you to work together to make this stunt work, right? And it was really, really great over time, because you would start to hear a flyer would, blame the people under them, or the people under them would blame their flyer. No. It's all you were not working together in tandem to make this work. So being able to have them and teaching athletes to champion one another, what does that mat talk look like? One of the things that I love, although I'm not coaching all-star, but when I'm with my daughter and her team, I love sitting down and giving them that mat talk. And they always say, Miss Jasmine, we need you to come over to give you the mat talk, but sitting them all down in a circle and be like, say something positive about, your teammate. I need you to find something. Or, if your flyer is not going to, if every time your flyer hits this position, they almost crumble, think of something you could say to champion them and encourage them, because they need that too, because they're just as nervous and afraid as you are, right? So one thing I tell my daughter when she goes on the stage is like, you are that girl and you know it. And I need you to know you are that girl. And the way she turns it on for performances, I need every back spot, even the front spots. Front spots, you have a role.
Yeah, it's such an individualistic sport.
It is.
You work on a skill individually, but then you have to bring it together.
Yes.
And I think sometimes the athletes forget about that, right?
They do.
A stunt goes up and it comes back down. Flyer says it was everybody underneath me. Everybody underneath her says it was her fault.
Yes.
We need to get out of this mindset that you are one cohesive unit.
Absolutely.
If the stunt falls, the whole stunt is responsible. The whole stunt group is responsible for that. It's not this he said, she said. We can't be pointing fingers. We have to point inward before we can point outward.
And you spend time ruminating on the things that went wrong, and then you talk about months later why the team culture is so poor, right? But we've let that ruminate for so long, and then ruminate amongst themselves. A lot of times stunt groups will argue amongst themselves. I'm like, absolutely not. Also, what I also loved when I was coaching was switching up the groups a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about it, because you should be able to base and back spot everybody on this team, right? In their absence, or if you should be able to fly with everybody on your team, right? So being able to switch it up a little bit, but I know not all gyms have that opportunity to do that because the season is so fast. You have to do something like, we don't, always have that time to just get together and do, stunt clinics, which is what I love. I think people should, when they get their teams, go stunt clinics. Team bonding is so important. Really being intentional about building positive culture amongst one another, where they actually like each other and they want to try, right? And they understand that, this is a team effort and it takes all of us to give 100 and not collectively 5%, 7%, 8% to make up the 100.
Exactly.
All of us have to give the 100, right? So, one of my things is, like I said, I tell my girl that she is that girl when she walks on the stage. Another thing that helps champion her is her mama is going to be in the front every single time, screaming like a crazy person. She's going to see her mother. I want to champion and challenge all parents to do that. It's okay. It's 2.5 minutes, if that. Get in there, act like a plumb fool, because although the judges are looking here, their eyes might go to the skill or the flyer, they want to know that you're there as their parent too. They will also feel like that girl or that guy when they see their moms and their dads standing, and their sisters and brothers, their families, their community standing there and cheering for them, because it also makes them feel like they're just as valuable to the team. So it takes an effort from all of us, right? So at competition seasons, I want to see everybody in the front this year going nuts, because our babies are looking for us. Although they are experts in this skill, right? They're still scared. They're still humans. We still get afraid as adults all the time. Every time the kids perform, I'm like holding my breath, like I'm on the stage, right? But if they see us there championing for them and screaming for them, they're going to feel like they are the moment. And that's what we want them to feel every single time.
Yeah. I love that, because to this day, my daughter, she gets up on that stage, she locks eyes
every
with
time.
me, and she does not take her eyes
every
off
time.
me. And I better be right in that front, because screaming my head off, because her eyes are locked on me.
My favorite routine last year, my daughter's team last year, she had a pyramid pass, which is the very last pass that came through. And she really was all over the mat the entire routine. But that pyramid pass was one of the things that she worked on so hard, and she had earned that, because initially when the routine started, she didn't have that. So she had earned it. So I knew to stand in the corner every single time, because that was if she hit that pass, there's this thing she does, and just a helicopter spin with her hair. If she hit that pass, I knew she was going to kill that dance. And me locking eyes with her every single time, or being in the pocket, it was so funny. My family couldn't always make it to competitions, and they would stream it. They would find me every time. And they would send me a screenshot. I'm like, there you are. And I'm like, so, it was so great because she knew every single time to lock eyes with me. And if she hit that pass, she was ready. I was like, activate, go time. Like it was such an amazing feeling to feel. And although she wasn't a flyer, or although she wasn't point and jumps, or although, she wasn't those or point in the dance,
cliche spots.
Yeah, the spots, right? She knew her mama was there, and she knew that she killed that pass, and she knew it added to the overall effect of that routine because I reminded her that she was that girl.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
So you said the magic words, so I want to go back to that.
Let me see.
Gym culture.
Yes.
So let's talk about gym culture.
Okay.
You've been to a lot of gyms. You
Yes.
have been to, you've seen a lot of coaches, a lot of owners.
Yes.
What makes a gym a place where you would want to send your kid, or what doesn't?
Oh, man, spicy question. I look at it kind of like a service that I'm invested in, right? Like what separates one hairstylist from the next? What separates one restaurant from this? I mean, I know if I go to a restaurant in an A grade versus a B grade, I'm not going there, right? So one of my things, culture, walking in the gym, feeling, your front staff is kind and welcoming, right? I mean, y'all taking my money.
And you're the first person we see.
You're the first person we see. You're taking my money, right? So that's one of the things. Seeing children have a good time in the lobby. Like they want to be there. Like the joy. But again, I'm an educator, right? So the joy I hear from children and laughter and friendship. And, a lot of the girls, many of them are different schools or, they're sharing things that happen in school. We do middle school cheer. We want to teach you these cheers. Like the friendship, the camaraderie that's there. Because they know when they get in practice, it's time to get to it, right? So seeing them come together, coaches who are, giving that extra time and effort, being able to sit and watch a coach walk up to see my child that's maybe struggling on a skill and seeing them walk beside them and walk them through it, or a stunt. One of the things that I did even as a collegiate coach, I mean, I've only been retired about 3 years now. I would actually go stunt with my athletes to teach them, like, why am I standing back and telling them what to do? Why not I just go show them? They're still doing it wrong.
Show through action.
I'm going to show you. Now, I mean, my Lord, I threw this one basket. It was really, really high. I got a nose broken. But I mean, I laid out on the floor and was happy because now they knew what to do and what not to do. Don't get your nose broken like coach, right? But I found so much joy and they learned. So, being able to go in and see coaches invested, front staff is kind, the children are loving to be there, positive interactions with the parents. Like, man, it's so good to be able to sit in a space with like-minded parents who are unwavering around their child and what their children need as athletes. And those conversations aren't always negative. I know we talk about parent talk in the lobby, but, we're unwavering about how we feel about our kids, right? And we are unapologetic about it. And we love that. And I love being in those spaces. People who check in, right? And again, I know there's so many athletes, but when my athlete is injured, it's nice to say, hey, are you doing good? My Marley, the first week she was at her new gym, funny story, had an accident with a chandelier. Had an accident with a chandelier, and it was during choreography camp. And the gym has very strict policies around attendance, and that child was not going to miss it. So not only was there pressure because she'd only been there a week, she'd only been there for a week. Now I'm in stitches. She has like 8. She's like, she's like, I'm going to practice tomorrow. And I'm like, no, you're not. But the moms of the group, and Erica, they like got her a card and flowers, and y'all, that meant a lot I don't even think you guys know how much that meant to me. Like that meant a lot to me to be able to be like, man, I'm new to this place. You guys knew nothing about me and my child. And for you guys to show up and make us feel so welcome, those are the things that keep people coming back, right? Those are the things that help establish a community that we can lean on each other. That is what the culture should look like and feel like in a gym.
And that's what we're trying to get to, right? So when I first launched HITSZN, at the end of my videos, I would always put in, this is cheer, and I would scratch it out and it would say family.
Yep.
And that's just what I felt like. So we're fairly new to the cheer. We've been in it 3 or 4 years now. It feels like 100, but
yes.
They all just start to spin a little bit faster and
just
faster.
A tornado.
but it really starts to feel like family.
Yeah.
And the more and more we've got ingrained, we have made our family bigger
Yep.
and bigger and bigger. And, it's just crazy to think about. So fun, quick little side story. So Erica and her husband, and my wife and myself and all of our kids, when we first got into cheer, we were at a competition. We were on a team that was only 10 little ladies. We were on a mini one team. And you would think with 10 people on a team,
Yes.
that the camaraderie, and you would think that the closeness and the bonding was just iron tight. And it's not always the case. And you can't force friendship.
Yeah.
It's just not something that you can do.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But expectations were definitely let down. And we were to a point where we were ready to go get some food. And it was our family, Erica's family, and another family. And we were all just like looking at each other like,
Wow.
well, what do we do? We're kind of all by ourselves.
Wow.
And from that day forward, we have forged this friendship, and it has been awesome. And we have made it our mission. I know for our family and Erica's family, we have made it our mission that when someone new steps in on the team and they have that deer in headlights look, they are included. They are included. It is not. And so that's really where This Is Cheer family came from.
Wow.
Because now we fast forward 3 or 4 years. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving.
Yep.
We're spending our Thanksgiving together.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is family now.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where we are so excited, but we're so enlightened to know what to look for and what to do to make sure that that same feeling doesn't happen where you feel left out, you feel not included. And so we're really focusing and harnessing in on This Is Cheer family. And the whole reason why I scratched out cheer is because cheer was just the mechanism.
Yeah.
Cheer was just the vessel.
Yep.
Cheer was just the circumstance that brought together these people that would have never been brought together probably else.
Yeah. Yeah. It gives a complete, as a saying, beauty from ashes, right? And to even think about what you guys experience in that space and how I'm sure, even as adults, I think people sometimes forget as adults, we have feelings too, right? But you have to kind of keep it together because you've got children that are watching you navigate through these spaces, right? And it's to be able to see that in you guys' relationship and, and I've kind of, my family's kind of been moved in that. And it's just been the most beautiful things. I will tell people often, and this is a story I've always shared, that cheer really saved me and my children's lives. My last year coaching, I went through a really, really bad divorce. And to this day, a lot of my athletes had no idea. They had no idea because I kept showing up authentically. I was still practicing. I was, Marley and Lincoln would go to practice with me because they were homeschooled. We'd be at the gym all night and they had no idea, but not for them knowing that if it wasn't for them, I don't know if I would have survived it at all. Right. And those, retiring was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. But because Marley was starting to get a little bit more competitive in cheer, so it was really hard with the balance. Right. I would have never left if it wasn't for that. But to be able to, see, Time Hop is one of my favorite apps, plug to Time Hop. But one of my favorite apps, it brings out, the videos from the past. And this time of the year, Thanksgiving was when things really shifted in our life about 5 years ago. And to see videos of us at Friendsgiving, to see videos of us, I didn't go home for years. I was so embarrassed about what was going on in my own life, where it felt like my cheer family was really all I had. And it really, I get really emotional thinking about it. 5 years ago, when I didn't think I was going to survive it. I didn't think I was going to come out of that space. And to be 5 years later, I'm like, man, that is so, and to have now an even bigger family, right? I am a single mom. So being a single mom in this space, being any parent in this space is hard, right? But my Lord, when you're down a body, when you're down a body and you're trying to rotate, you've got multiple children and rotating all the things and different practices and competition. Lord, I mean, the baby brothers, bless the baby brothers, because they are the real winners here. But, being able to navigate through that and knowing that I have such a community that I can call, I travel often for work, I don't miss any competitions, but sometimes I have to get there late, knowing that I can call any of my moms and you guys are my real friends, and call any of you guys like, hey, can Marley catch you guys down? And knowing that I can do the same for you guys, like that has changed so much. And I want everybody to have that type of experience from cheer to say these are my people, right?
And those are the beautiful moments, and those are the skills and the soft skills and the experiences that we want to teach our children.
Absolutely.
And those are the things that I don't think get glamorized in cheer.
Yep.
We see the things like the people falling, or the injuries, or the lawsuits, or the this or the that, whatever. It's expensive. Don't do it. Blah, blah, blah. And I think we've all been there at one point where we're just like, oh my gosh, why are we doing this? But it's those moments that are so teachable and coachable for our kids. And those are the things that we really want to try to bring to light. And this is a huge reason why we started HITSZN, was to be able to talk to people of different perceptions to kind of guide that. So going back to something that you said is juggling as a single mom.
Yeah.
You have 2 children.
I have 2.
And one child is not in cheer.
And no, he is not.
So how do you help the other parents, whether they be single parents or even parents that have, both in the picture? How do you navigate that from an experience side for your other child?
Man, my other little human, Bubba, is amazing. Love him through and through. One, I just love how supportive he is of his sister. Like, that is just although it's such a pain in his behind. Because as we all know, competition days are long days. They're long weekends. Practice nights are very long. There's a lot of car time. There's a lot of
Roblox and Fortnite.
Yeah.
Lots of Roblox and Fortnite.
Big plug for Epic Games.
We're here. The Brothers Club. Here we are. But, trying to navigate and balance that, I would be remiss if I didn't say it was difficult. I don't want to say that that's an easy feat at all.
No.
Because you do have to balance the needs of all of your children, right? And there's no one preference over the other. And I wish, I've always thought about this space where there will be a space at competitions for the baby brothers to go hang, a baby brothers club or something to go.
Be so awesome.
Go
There's
hang
such
out,
a need for
right?
that.
And I'm like, let me do it. But a baby brothers club or something, and they can, stream and watch their sisters on the TV, but have a place for them to also have a community, because many of these children are together for years.
And some of them don't even know each other.
They don't even know
And they're
each
just too busy
other.
chasing down the next Dippin' Dots rush
Man.
or trying to find an outlet to plug in their iPad or iPhone.
But so many, and I think about, our sons, and I think about, you're a husband who has loved on my son, right? And I think about all of our friends that all their baby brothers and baby sisters too.
Right.
But there's way more baby brothers, right? But
And the older brothers. We've
and
got
the
our
older
older one.
like your older brothers who are like, I'm tired of this church. Like, I'm literally tired of this church. But it gives, like, if there was a space for them to hang out, like, I might want to work on that. But, so it's really hard to balance. But, one thing that I've talked about is with my Bubba, who is 8, is how we support one another. And that starts at home. Those conversations really start at home. So, but that's also for Marley when it's Bubba's turn.
Exactly.
For Marley to be just as supportive of her brother. And sometimes that means watching him play Strongest Battleground, and she hates it. That also means that she might have to listen to some of his cool new music he just made, or watch him this new dance he just learned on Fortnite. But guess what? It makes him feel inclusive too.
Right.
Right. It makes him feel like he gets to be himself, because, cheer does take up a lot. It sometimes can even become your family's identity. So we really, that goes back to the sacrifice that I'm intentional about making sure when, we're off season, that we do off season.
The 2 weeks in May.
Yes.
That we do fun things that he also loves, that we also, go out, like he's into parkour, or sometimes, he'll go to the cheer gym with us and he gets really encouraged and motivated. He's like, I want to do that, right? Because I want to, tumble off of a wall, whatever. So, it's me being very, very intentional, but it is hard. It is hard. And this is why community matters, right? Because, there's been times where, you guys might, bring Bubba over. I'm like, let me get Lennon, like, all the things, right? And it takes transparency and saying, this is hard. I feel like a lot of times that we are very, we don't want to overshare, or we're being mindful. We don't, as adults, want people in our business. But you know what? Guess what? I'm having to do life with you guys, and I want to do real life authentically.
Right.
I don't want there to be
An a la carte.
Right. I don't have to be I don't have to be the baddest or the best or the whatever. I can say, guys, I just need help. And I think that is more authentic, and that allows more opportunities for relationships and forging amazing, true relationships, because I know that in any event there's an emergency, my kids will pick up the phone and call you guys.
And it really fosters a environment and a mindset for our children that it's okay to raise your hand and say, I need help.
I need help.
Maybe I need help lifting a box. Maybe I need you to come get my kids for 3 days because we've had a death in the family. Or maybe my plane is delayed because I'm flying in from overseas and I just need this. Or maybe I, for some reason, didn't listen to my wife and I didn't buy my ticket at the competition. And here I am at the competition in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and I need to buy a ticket because I don't have my ticket yet.
True story. That happened to my husband.
But what a gift it is, right? What an absolute gift to be able to have siblings who can we're their actual cheerleaders, right? So I love watching my two really get to the knit. And again, my Bubba's always annoyed with the whole, but he'll ask questions like, Mom, did they hit 0? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you're really interested in this stuff? Or, now he's got his iPad with him, but he's in the front with Mama. He's, and he calls his sister Yaya. Is Yaya about to go on? Or who's next? Or are they in their division? Or he asked her, what level are you on?
Investment.
He's so invested because he sees the joy that it brings her. And that is what that is why I'm so proud to be their mom, right? Like, I am just so thankful and so proud that I have been given the opportunity to be their mom and to be able to see her do the same thing for him, and for him to be able to get with his friends and they have such a great time, and they're sharing their gamer tags, and so it's such and we all go to the pool. We're at the hotels, thanks Stay to Play, but we're always going to the hotels and going to the pools, so it is such a beautiful, we're teaching them how to forge positive, authentic relationships at such a young age, but also being supportive and empathetic. And that is some of the things that I hope, again, everyone gets to experience in this space.
I love it. I think one of the things that I think is so important that so many people, miss or don't think about is, those cheer dads, they play such a huge role.
Let me tell you something. I love the cheer daddies. You hear me? I love them. Love them.
Not just for, sometimes, like a single mom like yourself, they don't have a strong male role model.
Yeah.
And to see those dads show up, and they don't care whose kids they're supporting.
They don't.
They're going to support all the kids.
Listen, it has been, wow. Again, my Bubba, and he's a roughhouser and he parkour all day. And to watch, you guys just really interact with him and love on him. You guys make him feel a part of the family because he is not as, extroverted as his sister. He's an ambivert. Surprisingly, like me, I'm an ambivert. That's crazy. But she has forged these relationships. She spends a lot of time with people, where with him, he's just like, oh, those are Yaya's friends, or though, I don't have anybody to play with, and it sometimes my heart would just like, but you do. So I have to push him. So to see the dads really come in and be like, yeah, that's my kid on the stage, but these are all my kids too. You can't put a price tag on that. You just can't, my son always asks about, when's the next time I'm going to see this person? When can I go over and play over their house? And I'm always very I don't do too much because my son gets a little crazy. I'm like, Papa, come down. But he, and all the men are like, he's fine. He needs that energy. So it's just so good. And also to see dads who may not have sons either, really engage. So it is such a beautiful opportunity to, again, community, but also another role model for our children, because we are actually doing life together. And I mean, real hard.
Absolutely. So let's change gears just a little bit and talk about, progression into, your daughter's tumbling rank, their cheer rank. She's looking to, I know Marley a little bit, so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
She's looking for that next level.
Yes.
She's hitting that, eyes on the prize next level. How do you navigate where, we're both in the same space of, our daughters, they are hungry for that next level.
Yeah,
they are pushing, and they have a class together and they thrive off one another.
Yeah, they do.
How do you help breed that healthy competition but they love each other. They are rooting for each other. How do you help that healthy competition and just move to the next level? How do you help
That's
that?
such a good question. And I tell my babies all the time, numbers don't matter to me unless it's the numbers that go to my direct deposit. So, so these levels and these, that doesn't matter. I just want them to enjoy it, right? And Marley and Hayden are such good friends, and they've been in a lot of spaces together the last 2 years. I love to see them want to be better because each one of them are better, right? It's so cool to see them hug it out before practice, but then that fierceness comes in, and the way when they're warming up and throwing their tumbling passes, and they'll say, "You got this," or they really know where they struggle. So when Marley's getting ready to do her, my Marley tumbles with her eyes closed, so I can hear Hayden Marley, open your eyes, or Marley, slow down. To hear them love on each other, that is what love looks like to me, right? That is what friendship looks like for me, and it's so healthy. They're not trying to outdo each other; they're trying to grow at the same time, and they want the best for each other because again, they are on the same team. So then if one gets better, makes the team better, right? And I want to tell you how much I appreciate the way you've instilled that in Hayden, because you don't find that often in kids this age. It's very me, preteen business, look at what I can do. And
there's a little bit of that too.
But it's okay. But they spend more time talking about, hey, did you get this skill? Oh my gosh, tell me what you did. Marley, again, she was at the camp the other day, and she tumbled on hardwood. It was her first time, and she threw a skill that I was like, oh snap, and she did it, and it was beautiful. And she got the claps from all the friends. But there was one girl who stood beside her who was trying to learn. She goes, "How'd you do that?" So I took my camera, which was so strange, and recorded that, because I wanted to show that back to her. And she was telling the other little girl how to do it. And I saw her showing her the body positions. Yes, she threw the skill, but being able to watch her go and encourage someone, I was like, this is the moment, right? So, the hunger to wanting to move, I also am glad I can see the balance of them wanting their friends to move with them, and not this, I want to be on a different team and be on a higher level. Because again, the numbers don't matter to me. It is, again, the whole child, the healthy athlete, and them spending time together and building that relationship with one another. And it has, again, they are so silly and goofy, and I love it. But they are really friends.
Yes.
We're not that mean girl, pretend. They are actually really friends with one another, and that's what's important to me.
Yes, absolutely.
So we're going to switch gears into our segment called These Questions Hit Hard. And these questions hit hard. So if you thought any of the questions that we've asked so far were hard, just buckle up.
Buckle up.
Get nice and locked in, and we're going to go. So these are the questions that are tough, right?
Let's do it.
We want to know kind of what's going on. So we'll start off with an easy one.
Okay.
If you were to be completely removed from cheer, what would you focus all your extra time on? Because we know there'd be extra time.
Wowzers. And that is as in completely removed, Marley's
no cheer. Marley's not in cheer. You're not in cheer. There's no cheer. You can't even say cheer.
All the naps.
Lots of naps. I would say, and this is something I am working on now, but if I had more time, I could do it more, is just my own personal development. Right? I feel like we become parents, and a lot of times, and that comes with the role of being a parent or a spouse, we die to ourselves a lot every day, right? So there's often times where a lot of dreams falter, and there's a lot of things that we want to do because our priorities are our children. And so I do think I would, explore more things, or, find a new hobby, or, I've done the same thing my entire life. I am a teacher through and through, right? And I love that. I'm a coach through and through. I'm a mom. But, what if I want to explore candle making? Or, we're on the road so much. I will share, I'm going to be honest. I love a good drive-through.
There you go.
I love a good, I come from a family that this Southern, they cook, right? I can cook a little bit. I could do a little something in a crock pot, but I would actually spend more time because we're not on the road as much. I would cook a little bit. So, I think my own intrinsic development would be something that I would work on, because again, I think, just like cheer has become a lot of our identities. You know, being a parent or a spouse has become our identity. And there's still room for individuality to who we are, right? And making ourselves better. So I would really, I think, focus on, you know, a little bit more of me and the things I'm interested in.
I love it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've all seen tough coaches. We've all heard tough coaches.
Right.
But what is the line between tough coaching and toxicity?
Ooh, that's Erica. You said they were going to hit hard, didn't you? Wow. Ugh. I feel like the fine line boils down to communication. For me, I am a different type of parent that I shared earlier. And I think, again, that comes with my education background. I think that communication is key and relationships govern behavior. I am firm in that. How, you know, you behave or how you respond to things is the core of that is the type of relationship you have with people. So, you know, I'm not a yeller. I'm not I don't yell. I'm the adult in the room. Why do I have to yell at a child, right? Like, is there a power struggle? Clearly there is. But see, I'm a little rogue when it comes to that because I know some people don't believe that. But I can communicate effectively without having to raise my voice or demean a child. So I think that's the fine line for me. You know, I know some people use choice language and adult language. That's fine. Whatever floats your boat, right? We love a little sparkle and sprinkle to adult language. But I think communication, like the yelling, the harping on what they're doing wrong, you know, things like that. Like, let's talk about what they're actually doing right. Let's kind of help build them to actually be able to learn from their mistakes and get better and not just harp on their mistakes and, you know, push on their self-esteem, right? So I think the communication is one for me because, I mean, you are the adult in the room, right? So why do you feel like you have to have a power struggle with a 10-year-old? That's a little nuts to me, but I mean, to each his own. So
you mentioned earlier in the podcast that obviously as a woman of color, there are struggles that come along with that. So for someone new to cheer or maybe a seasoned veteran in cheer of color, what are 3 tips or 3 things that you would give them as a parent that could help them along in their cheer career?
Oh boy. Number 1, it is okay to be unapologetic about who you are and what you stand for. You have to, if you want people to learn and you want people to respond to things, you sometimes have to teach them. And it is okay to be unapologetic. I am just fine being, I can be a loud Black woman, a quiet Black woman, a subtle Black. I'm okay with being all those things, right? But I'm gonna be unapologetic about it. And I'm gonna stand up for my children, right? So that's the first one. The second one is be okay with being open to new things and new community. You know, we are not, you know, oftentimes feel like we're in silo, but we're not. People actually really want to be our friends, right? Like, and it's okay. So being okay with being open to meeting new people and learning about other people. You know, sometimes, you know, being in new spaces for anyone, you become apprehensive about who's in the room and what they're, you know, if they mean well. And that's a defense mechanism, right? But it really amplifies when you are a person of color. Right? Because, I mean, the climate of America today, it's a lot, right? So I think one of the things that's really helped me is being open to making new friends. And you can have discernment about it. You know, they can be an acquaintance, right? But being open to community, but you'll never know unless you're open. The third thing would be invest in the best of the best. We want the best of the best for our kids. We're going to have to make the investment. We know that, again, we have to work really, really hard to get the things that are just available to other people at the drop of a hat, right? It is okay to make the investment and the sacrifice. And sometimes it's going to feel hard right now, but it's going to be worth it in the end.
Awesome.
Those would be my 3.
Awesome.
I love it. So we all say, you know, if we could change this, we would change that, or what about this? But let's talk about scoring. If you could change how varsity gets scored, what would you change?
I would, oh man. So also in my very diverse career, I've also served as a judge. I've served on bleep that out. Okay. Another part of my crazy career is that I have also served as a judge. I've served on a number of panels before. I've actually backed up a little bit because the gym that many of the gyms my daughter has been at are big brand names. So they are at a lot of competitions that I normally judge. So I really sometimes only do collegiate or some of your smaller D2 competitions just to kind of stay up to speed because things change often. The one thing I would say about scoring is that I hope to see in the future is just universal scoring, being universal across the board. I do think that would help make the progression of bringing cheer to be honored as an actual sport to accelerate that faster is if we had universal scoring that is fair, right? You think of every other sport, the rules don't waver. The ball
goes in the hoop, it's a point.
That is it. It's a point or not.
Right.
It's a foul or it is. You know what I'm saying?
There is a clear winner. There is a clear loser.
Right. And there's no discrepancy around who has a plug here, who has this information, or who is the fan favorite. I mean, if there's a fan favorite award, sure. But that's fan favorite. But universal scoring would make people take our sport seriously. And not just, the big. And a lot of times the big names are the clear winners, right? I mean, they are the best of the best, but making it a fair opportunity across the board for everyone with universal scoring so we can have our sport be seen and taken seriously outside of all of our injuries, right? These injuries are because our sport is serious, right? So to take our sport seriously across the board and be able to see it as an Olympic sport for real one day with universal scoring.
And give these girls a dream to be able to go and
Absolutely.
compete at that, world-like level.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're going to wrap up the podcast.
Okay.
My last question is going to be more of a rapid-fire couple questions.
Ooh.
And it's more wrapped around competition day.
Oh.
And it's going to be as a mom.
Got it.
We're going to, your first answer that comes to mind, we're going to move quick. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
You ready? All right, here we go.
Ready.
What's one thing in your purse or bag that you bring with you that you can't leave home without at a comp?
My wallet.
Dippin' Dots or a hot dog?
Dippin' Dots.
Do you stand in the same place every time when you watch Marley compete?
Yes.
Do you have any pre-competition rituals before Marley goes on to the stage?
Absolutely. Cry.
I want to know what shoes you wear.
Listen, okay.
Oh.
So I have a new pair of competition. So I have these special green shoes. Y'all, I love green so bad. They're these green Jeffrey Campbell clogs that I love. They don't match anything, by the way.
Definitely not our gym colors.
Absolutely not. But honey, you need to get with the green, okay? So I'm gonna get a different color this year, but those are my favorite ones. So they're platforms and they're comfortable, and I look like a stylish mom. I can wear my Uggs or whatever, but I like my green shoes and my big old hoops. Yes.
Staying at a hotel, do you like being on a higher floor or a lower floor?
Oh boy. Wow. Higher, so I can be nosy and see everything.
Last question, and we're wrapping it up.
Is it really the last question?
It is.
Okay.
What's the conversation like in the car ride home on a non-winning competition?
There is no conversation. It's scary. It's a scary place. It is a very scary place. Maybe she should get an Uber home. I'm not sure. But there's no conversation. It's me just driving to Starbucks.
I love it. Well, Jasmine, thank you so much
Y'all,
for joining us on Hit Season.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
I want to come back for
appreciate
This was so much fun, guys. And thank you for the work that you are doing and bringing awareness. This is such an amazing opportunity for people to get visibility of actually the good in our sport. So thank you guys so much for that.
Yes, we will definitely get you back for season 2.
I can't wait.
We appreciate it. So to everybody watching, that was episode with Jasmine Cox.
Bye,
such an awesome parent and past collegiate coach. We've had a really great time talking with her. So tune in next time for the next episode of Hit Season. Make sure you follow us, on Spotify, Apple Music, and watch us on YouTube. Until next time, we're HITZZN Media. Take it easy.